our top mistakes as investors and traders. Let's jump into it today. Welcome everybody. Hopefully you're doing absolutely amazing. In today's video, what we're going to chat about is some of the top three. I'm going to pinpoint just three today, and then maybe in future videos, we'll go over some others and just kind of build this series on some mistakes, some things that we can work on, because no one is perfect on this earth, including you and me. All right. So we were built to make mistakes, but it is understanding what those mistakes are and how we can turn those things around. All right. So if you are here because you are now profitable, or maybe you are experienced and you're just here because it's like, what is he going to say? There are people, professionals even, that go on streaks where they are losing, or they're just not seeing the market correctly. They're not reading it correctly, right? It happens to everybody. So no matter who you see on these public platforms, beginner, intermediate, advanced, everyone goes through these same things. And these are things that you can improve upon to become better and better and better. All right. So humble ourselves really quickly to understand that everyone makes these same things, but it's not doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. We good? All right. So if you're here and you're new, welcome. My name is Dr. B. I'm a holistic life and business coach and strategist for entrepreneurs and thought leaders. Been an entrepreneur now full time for the past 8 years. Investors, options trader, jumping into futures a little bit. I've traded it before and now jumping back into it, transparently going through some combines right now. And with those risk management parameters on some of these combines, if you know, you know, right? I'm like, man, my risk tolerance is a little bit wider than this. So I gotta really pinpoint, keep my stop losses tight. So I'll keep everybody updated with that going forward. All right. Please go check out the links down below if you'd like. There's my podcast with my life coaching perspective. I work one-on-one with a lot of high-level thought leaders with the mindset and the psychology with their life and purpose and careers and relationships. So if you're in need of that and you want that information, go listen to myself as a speaker on my podcast, Leverage Talk. If you're here, there's going to be more videos, not just around trading and investing, but around the psychology and purpose-driven. I'll be sharing my story sooner than later back on this channel. So thank y'all so much. We're not one-trick ponies around here. It's more than just making money in the market. So if you like a holistic perspective, you're in the right place. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, that like button. I appreciate all the kind words as of late. Some of the videos that y'all been leaving really nice comments. I appreciate you. Any new videos that you'd like to see, please let me know. Without further ado, I don't want to keep us too long. So let's jump into it. All right. So the first mistake, or the first thing that I believe personally that I struggled with when it came to investing and options trading and just long-term investing, is just entries. Okay. So we're going to talk about entries, exits, and psychology / risk management. Entries, exits, psychology / risk management. Okay. So if you want to take notes, or if you're wanting to know the top three right off the bat, go ahead and write those things down. All right. So let's jump into the charts first. Okay. And I'm going to make this simplistic because I know I have some beginners on my channel. So I want to make sure everyone is feeling welcomed. All right. So let's jump into it here. Let me shrink myself. So here's Leverage University. There's 3 different ways you can join. Okay. You can join our community Discord here. Okay. You can actually jump into our Discord. I like to keep a protective space. So it is going to cost a slight bit. If you want to support the channel, it's $5 a week or $30 a month. You can come into our community inside of our Discord. This community section is just simply our WAP platform. So you can jump in and just get kind of on our newsletter and get inside of our community, and I can inform you of the next steps. If you want everything and you want all the trainings, live trainings, I jump in coffee chats and town halls and live trainings and webinars, master classes, things of that nature. That's going to be at our university. And if you want live trading, more specifically, if you want to actually watch me trade and do it live and give signals live where you're hearing me on voice, then that is going to be this. And then we have a stop trading boot camp at the time of this recording that you can come in and listen to. So there'll be master classes and different short trainings over the coming months into 2025 and going forward, where I'll be popping these on here. Our mentorship, that is where I'm coaching one-on-one. Okay. It is me personally. I know people jump into different things and they're in these group settings, right? So if you do need like one-on-one touch base with life, business, finance, and this trading skill set, you're more than welcome to reach out and say, hey, I kind of want to understand what you do a little bit more. And, yeah, want to earn your trust. All right. So that being said, would love to have you in one of these levels inside of our community. All right. It's pretty jam packed, as you see our Discord here, with community-driven things, club rooms. That is our chats that we can chat about various different things. Our crypto hub, where we've been giving updates on Bitcoin chats, Bitcoin and altcoins, and We've been doing that for a minute. Okay. So our trading floor is very organized here. We got our futures section and then our options signals and our options trading section with all the trade chats. Our university is down here where all of our trainings are. And then my mentorship section where I have my one-on-ones, you get your private chat, and then we jump on one-on-one Zoom calls. All right. Without further ado, let's jump into the first qualm or problem. Okay. So I'm going to jump back and forth because I primarily chart or I look at the charts on Webull. Okay. That is just my platform of choice personally. I like the interface. I like the way the charts look. I have everything set up. Okay. So I'm going to jump on SPY first. Let me move me over here. I'm going to jump on SPY first. And the reason why this came up is I had a mentorship client of mine that was just wondering why, Brian, am I maybe not winning as much as everyone else is? And that happens with anybody, right? So obviously for disclosure purposes, or excuse me, just protection purposes, there's a lot of folks that deal with that. Okay. But I'm just kind of basing this off of answering this video because I know a lot of people deal with this. They're like, man, how are all these people winning? I took the same trade and I'm not winning, right? Or I bought the same thing. Why is someone significantly up on their crypto and I'm down, right? So the first qualm or problem or opportunity, as I like to say, is entries, okay? Entries, all right? So the first thing is, where do you enter? So I'm gonna make this a two-part, an entry on buying long-term shares, okay? So I'll make an example since crypto is hot right now of Bitcoin. Okay. So everyone is telling you to buy Bitcoin, crypto, right? And you buy at the height of all the momentum, right? Someone tells you to buy, you go buy, just say $100 worth of crypto or Bitcoin, excuse me, and you buy it at 97,000. Okay. That is an entry problem. It doesn't mean the investment is poor. It just means the entry problem. Okay. So how do you get a better entry? Okay. You want to get entries on long-term investments, meaning you might hold this for shares. Okay. A couple of years, maybe you hold it for 5 years. Maybe you use it as a savings account or retirement and you hold it for 10, 20, 30 plus years. Okay. You want to buy when people are not talking about it or when we are in fear. Okay. So one thing that you can do a little bit better, as I've talked about it in videos previously, is you can come on the fear and greed index. It's free on CNN and say, are we in fear or are we in greed? Okay. So that is the first thing that I tell anyone is for better entries on long-term share investments, right? Is you want to buy when things are on a pullback, when there's fear in the market, when no one's talking about it and you've researched and done your due diligence. Okay. Very similar to buying NVIDIA at 150, right? Same concept. It doesn't mean it's not going to work out. It just means that when you buy at 150, now it's back at 130. It's like, oh my gosh, like I can't get this thing right. So entries are very important when it comes to share buying. Okay. So Brian, how do I get a better entry? First on shares. Okay. That's part one of the entries, shares. How do I get a better entry? Look at fear and greed index and buy, or look at buying your favorite companies when we're in fear. Okay. There is also a fear and greed index for crypto. So you can type in fear and greed for crypto as well. Second thing, you can start buying or getting better entries when you start understanding charts. Okay. So I like to buy or consider buying shares when we're on a 10 to 20% pullback from the most recent highs. Okay. And I'm looking at a weekly time frame. So if I come on here and I understand the charts are new for everybody. So let me make it simple here on a line chart. Lines. Let me turn it off the candlesticks because a lot of people are familiar with when it looks like this. Okay. So let me just make Bitcoin as an example. If I pull back here, Bitcoin is pulled back about 6, almost 7%. So if it pulls back to 10, about 88, okay, that's where I can consider picking some up. Okay. Let me look at, for example, let's look at Apple. Okay. Apple. If things are at all-time highs, I always suggest, man, when should I buy? When should I buy? When should I buy? If things are at all-time highs and they're running and you're chasing, it's like you're running up a hill, you're trying to chase it, trying to catch the dollar, right? Just dollar cost average at the highs, meaning say, cool, I'll buy $5 here a week. I'll buy $10 a week. I'll buy $100 a month of this particular company that I like, right? Don't load the boat at the highs. Okay. So look at Apple. If I do the same thing with Apple from this most recent high and pull back to here, that was about a 3% pullback. So ultimately, I'd want Apple probably back at about 220, right? But it's running right now, right? It's back up about 1.5% from the most recent highs. So it's broken back out. So if Apple pulls back even deeper, right, just say Apple pulls back 10% back to 200. That is possible, right? That's where I'd want to consider buying a heavier amount of Apple. Do you see here that Apple is again at all-time highs? Okay. So look at this pullback here from here to here. What was that? About 5%, right? What was this one? About 6%. So you can make yourself a range. Anytime your favorite company pulls back about 5 to 10%, I can buy. Okay. Can buy a little bit here, buy a little bit there. If we're over 20 something percent on a pullback, depending on what company it is, 50% off of a solid company, that is where you want to consider loading the boat a little bit more. So let me give you an example of, just say Nike. Okay. And, you know, you might have your qualms about what these companies, but let me just maybe give Starbucks. Okay. Starbucks is, when it pulled back very heavy here from the highs and pulled all the way back 30%, it's 30% off of Starbucks stock, right? That is when you want to consider buying, not buying it at 110, okay? When it's at all-time highs. I don't care what company it is, okay? So that is the best way for share entries, okay? Entries, first problem. Let's speed this up a little bit. I don't want to make this video too long. So let's jump into options, okay? Jump into options. I'll give a perfect example here of QQQ, okay? QQQ. And I'll turn back on the candlestick chart. Okay. And go from here. Okay. This was today, the 26th. 26th. Okay. 26 right here. All right. So today, at the time of this recording, I signaled, give you confirmation here. I signaled. This is a perfect example. Option signals. Loading, looking at QQQ puts, would love an entry around 511.50 to 512. 510 entry would be starters. If you know, you know. That means I like puts entering when QQQ gets at 510, right? I'm looking at the 508, 509, 510 puts for Friday or further, right? If you know, you know. You like that signal, okay? This is right off open. So what I was watching is I was watching this. So the market opens. This is options, okay? For those that are wondering about trading, maybe you're like, why do I keep not winning? Every time the stock market goes up, I'm entering in a call and then it comes back down. And then when I enter into a put and then it goes back up, right? And I keep losing and I don't know why, okay? Look at this. The market opens. It gaps up. So anytime this is news inflicted, it gaps up and it's pushing into resistance, okay? So here's 510, and look at this candle. That long wick right there tells me that there's resistance there. There's a ceiling, right? So when it gets up here, it's going to be very tough for it to go higher. And I also saw this next level. So I was saying from my signal, enter puts. Remember, put the phone down right around 510, okay? If you entered puts at 510, like I said in the signal, then you would have won that trade, which a lot of people did. This right here was around a 30 to 50% trade from here back down to 507, okay, in options. So 30 to 50% on your money. If you enter late, You could take the same trade and enter puts down here, and then it rips back up and you're down. So I want everyone to understand, if you're trying to understand trading or why it's not working for you, a lot of times it's simply, I've got to learn the charts. You've got to understand where resistance and support is. Even if I turn on a line chart, right, and I go into Robinhood, okay, and I turn on a line chart, because I know a lot of you are not familiar with the candlesticks just yet. So let me make it simple on a line chart for you, okay? And let me go to QQQ. So if I'm just reading a line chart and I zoom out here, right here, previous support becomes resistance. Previous support becomes resistance. Do not forget that. Former resistance can become support. So once it broke above 510, look what happened. It turned 510 into a support. Okay. So it was pushing back up into this 510 level. So I can read it on a line chart as well. Enter puts around 510 and take it back down. All right. So same thing. Zoom out on your phone if you're on Robinhood and see where the mountain peaks or the resistance is, and see where the valleys or the support are. Okay. I want to buy or consider calls at support, which is around 502. I've got 505. And then I cannot enter calls sitting up here, and I cannot enter puts when it's down in support. Okay. So entries. The better your entry is, I'm very keen on precise entries. The better your entries, I don't care what Discord group or whoever you're a part of. If you take a signal, which I don't really like signals that much, but I tell people what I'm getting into early enough. So as you saw, very transparent there, but I'm also doing that in live trading. So if you hear me in live trading for any of my community members and clients, you know there's a difference, right? So your entry has to be on point. That's why I put enter puts at 510, write it down to 507. If you're too late to the party, wait. Okay. All right, let's go into this. This video is getting longer than I want. I'm very passionate, as you can see, about this. All right. So this will improve your trading. Now let's go into number 2, exits. I'll make this very, very simple. Okay. If you're in profit and you're new, take your profit at 10 to 15%. If you're new to options trading, right, more specifically, take your profit at 10 to 15%. Okay. Not a dollar amount just yet. Take it at 10 to 15% until you get comfortable about exit. Just have those green trades, because a lot of folks, I've done it too, right? We hold our winning trades a little bit too long, and then we're in the red. It's like, oh my gosh, I should have taken profit, right? So sometimes you just got to take those small base hits, including myself. I'm talking to myself here, because it doesn't matter if you're beginner, intermediate, advanced. Take your profits 10 to 15%. Then you can start moving it up and holding your winners longer, potentially to that 20 to 30%. Okay. So that is the second problem or qualm that people have, is not exiting their winning trades. They just set it and forget it, no stop loss, and just run off, and their winning trades go back red. Okay. So make sure you take those profits quicker and sooner until you get comfortable. Okay. So percentage exits. I'm up 10%, 15%, I'm out. Okay. The second thing is, when you get more into the charts, right? Let me go back on here. You can take it to specific levels. So I know there's support at 507, right? Previous resistance turned into support around 507, right? So I can take my puts from 510, write it down to 507, nothing more. So I enter put at 510, give it some time on the expiration, write it down to 507. I can enter calls at around 507, write it up to close to 510, and take my profit. Okay. So I can play the channel, as it's called. Okay. Now, if it breaks the channel, I know my next support is around 505, 506 right here. Previous resistance, turn support, remember, mountain peaks, valleys, or support, and ride it back up. Okay. So that is very key to understand is I can take percentage exits and I can take target price exits. So my support and resistance. Okay. If I'm late to the party, do not enter puts at support. So if you see a big red candle coming down and you're like, man, let me chase and enter puts, you're already late to the party because people are already in those. So the puts are about to exit. So the people that entered at 510 are about to exit at 507. Okay. All right. Let's jump into it. Hopefully you are liking this video so far. If you could smash that like button, leave me a comment if this is something that you deal with as well, because we all deal with it. So let me know if this is helping down in the comments. All right. And my final thing is the psychology and risk management. Psychology means that we have naturally fear and greed within all of us. We're dealing with money here. So this will teach you a lot. I think everyone should understand how the markets work. Everyone should understand how to trade or enter a trade or an investment. I don't care, buying a share, because it is different. You start to learn a lot about yourself when you buy Bitcoin and it comes down 5% and you're like, oh my gosh, like, man, let me exit. I don't want to lose any money, right? You start to learn a lot about yourself. Like, man, am I gambling or do I trust the trade? Right? That is the difference. That is why a lot of folks are not successful, but they want to be successful, right? It just is that way, right? So you have to continuously reframe your mind to understand that there is money involved, but also this is a skill. This is a lot of folks' jobs, right? So this is a source of my income. Obviously, coaching and consulting and speaking is primarily what I do, as you could probably hear, but also I trade and I invest in the markets and I provide the opportunity to showcase that I can teach this as well to educate folks. So just be mindful that it's just like you show up at work and you have a high level skill and it took a long time to understand. Same thing with this. You cannot come into this saying, oh, I'll just throw money here and see what it does. I'll throw money here and see what it does. You've got to make it a real thing if you want to. So that means putting time on the charts. That means taking some losses if you need to. That means getting hit in the face a couple of times, getting frustrated, right? Same thing when you were learning anything else, right? The psychology, okay? The psychology. So the moment that you remove, here's some tips for psychology around in the markets. I look at percentages. Turn the money off. So on Robinhood, there is a way where you can turn the money amount off. Okay. So how much you're up, man, I'm up $20. Man, I'm up $200. Turn the money off on your trade. Okay. And turn it to percentage change. So man, I'm up 20% on my money. So it doesn't matter how much you have in there. You're up 20%. So if I told you, you hand me $100, I'll give you back 120, you'd probably take that every time. Right? Because you just made 20% on your money. So think about it like that. That's what I started doing. I started teaching my community members as well. You can see here in our Discord, we do share wins, but I tell everyone to get comfortable looking at the percentage, right? Get comfortable looking at the percentage, right? Quick scalp, QQQ, 186%, 169%. That's a home run, right? Great. Dennis, 580%, right? That was a home run right there, right? A couple people sharing there. Right, 100%, right? Obviously a percentage there and money, but we share a lot of percentages. There's myself, 37, 41%. So I practice what I preach there. There's me on my challenge and combine account on futures, right? Percentage, 61, 64%, right? So there's again, right? Tesla shorted 25%. So you can just go here and that is one thing, 500%. So I aim 50%. It just keeps going, right? There was a good day there that I had about $900, right? But it was about the percentage, right? 30 to 80%, 30%, 40%. I like anything you can repeat a 20 to 30% trade every single time and look at that as a percentage, then you can increase the amount of money, right? I know you want to make money quick. I get it. Me too. But you want to look at those things as percentages. So that's one way to switch your psychology. Risk management is the final thing, and I'll let us go here. Set your stop loss as well, if possible, right? That means that when you enter a trade, you should know how much down you're already risking. So I enter a trade. I already know I don't want to lose more than 50 bucks. Okay. Set a stop loss, right? The contract for my trade is, and I'll talk about shares as well. I enter a trade and I put $100 into the contract. Okay. I should not let this go. If it's only one contract, in my opinion, no more than 30% on that contract. Because if you're only entering that, then a lot of times it's usually a small account. So I would say 20 to 30%. So I know when I enter this, I'm losing no more than 30 bucks, 25 bucks max. Okay. Now, if you have more space or more contracts, then you can maybe widen that gap and say, hey, I've got 3 contracts. All right, I've got 3 contracts. I've got $300 into this trade. I don't want to lose more than 75. Okay, 75 bucks. Okay, so start setting that for yourself, that do not let that go all the way and start killing your account. And then you're like, man, I thought it was going to come back, right? Cut it, re-enter, cut it, go to the next day. All right, so that's going to help with continuously building that momentum. And I think everyone deals with that, and it's called tilt. You start getting emotional, right? Start getting emotional about, man, this trade's going to come back, and you start getting into hope mode. Hope is not a strategy, as I like to say. All right. So that being said, I said I was going to keep us for a long time, but I think this video is very important to understand what are the top 3 mistakes or opportunities that you can work on to make you a successful investor, trader, whatever it might be, is entries on your shares and your options. Number 2, exits, taking profit at percentages, protecting your profits and your gains for your long-term portfolios. And then 3, psychology and risk management, protecting your emotions and your mindset, and understand not to get on tilt or emotions or greed too much, right? If you feel that, get out of the trade, okay? And then risk management, meaning set that stop loss. There's to be a maximum that I'm losing on each trade. If it's not going in my favor, cut it, re-enter. Okay, maybe my entry was off, right? It's going too far down in my drawdown, all right? Well, peace, love, and blessings. Let me know down in the comments what your biggest struggles are, what you think are also biggest mistakes that we all make. Let me know also how I did with a like, share, and make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. There's a lot of you that aren't subscribed, and I would appreciate it so much so I can continuously get these videos out to you, and hit on that notification bell. Until next time, peace, love, and blessings.